Now we'll move on to international approaches to alternative dispute resolution, where I will discuss ADR specifically in Italy, Brazil, and China. Let's start with Italy. Practices of conflict resolution in Italy were heavily influenced by Roman, Greek, and Arabic cultures, creating a history of a conservative and traditionalist approach to business and legal disputes. Throughout this history, two values that Italians hold dear are reliability and relationship building, and because of these values, Italians take time negotiating in order to become more familiar with other parties. Through this familiarity, strong relationships can be built and reliability can be established. However, if Italians are rushed to sign an agreement, this will often lead to further disputes and expectations from other parties may not be fulfilled. Italy has also come from a business perspective of I win, you lose, and that they insist on their own demands without wanting to consider the requests of other parties. These interactions would almost always take place in court, with each party fighting a legal battle to fulfill their expectations. Only recently have they begun to realize the downside of an I win, you lose mindset, as it has noticeably slowed down the judicial system in Italy and caused businesses to lose a great amount of money. As an alternative to this perspective, companies are beginning to look at mediation as a first response to disputes. Italian legislature has just recently approved the use of mediation and conciliation in commercial disputes, taking the first few steps to a more widespread use of alternative dispute resolution. Now let's move on to Brazil. Brazilians are known as warm and friendly people, and this has had an impact on their ADR processes, particularly creating an informal environment in a negotiation setting. Further, Brazilian values have a large effect when negotiating. Brazilians highly value honesty, trustworthiness, and ethics during negotiations, and because of this, they prefer to build a strong business relationship to determine that all parties involved possess these qualities. If other parties have different attitudes in negotiations that show that they may not hold the same values as the Brazilian party, more conflicts can result from negotiations. Because of this, renegotiations are common, and occasionally attorneys must be hired to find a solution. However, this is a last resort for Brazilians, as the judiciary in Brazil is considered untrustworthy by most citizens. Because of this mistrust, ADR has a strong future in Brazil, as it is much preferred over legal processes. This future can be seen quite obviously in the development of various ADR-oriented projects in Brazil, such as a project to create more mediation and arbitration chambers, training individuals to use ADR concepts into universities, offices, and unions, and other projects by the São Paulo State Judiciary Branch to use mediation and conciliation within state courts. Further, Brazilian Senate is currently revising their legislation on the use of mediation. Finally, let's look at China. Personally, I find this aspect of international ADR very interesting, as I was surprised to see such a deep history of ADR in Chinese culture. The foundation of the Chinese perspective of dispute resolution can be found in Confucian ethics and Chinese cosmology. Confucius was a Chinese thinker and philosopher who explained how harmony can be achieved among people, believing that if people were ruled by proper conduct, known as li, they would not need law, known as fa. This is a quote by from Confucius's Analects that explain his beliefs of li and fa. I can hear a court case as well as anyone, but we need to make a world where there's no reason for a court case. If you use government to show them the way and punishment to keep them true, the people will grow evasive and lose all remorse. But if you use integrity to show them the way and ritual to keep them true, they'll cultivate remorse and always see deeply into things. I think this quotation is a great way of looking at ADR and understanding how by using a mutual understanding of proper conduct, legal intervention can be avoided. So throughout China's history, different governments and parties alternated their beliefs on whether li or fa was more important in society. Yet within civil society, individuals always favored li over fa and used ADR practices to resolve disputes. Because of this, ADR is now considered mainstream in Chinese society, as it is a natural extension of Confucius ethics, and it is a common practice to resolve disputes using the guidance of an experienced and respected elder. Within each country, it is quite easy to see how the values of different cultures can impact the use of ADR in international relations with these countries. However, all the countries previously discussed all share the common theme of sporting traditional values, and while these may differ, it also provides them with a commonality. This leads me to the question of how we can develop an international approach to ADR practices that can be universally applicable. My first idea for a more universal approach would be an international checklist. This checklist would include steps to take in preparation for practicing international dispute resolutions, such as researching the values of other parties and developing a strong understanding of their cultural history and traditions. Another possible solution would be an international database where countries can provide information about their own cultures and values in hopes of making it easier to understand their values and tendencies. And parties can provide information on past experiences with other countries and cultures across the globe. Next, HIND will be looking into communication and the use of technology in a cultural context. Thank you for listening.